Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another video. Today's video we're going to learn how to play mid. So for anybody that's new to the game, just starting out, maybe you're lower MMR, you haven't played mid before, you're looking to get into the role, I'm going to go over all the basics, we're going to cover the heroes, we're going to just look at the lane and the role conceptually and see all of the basics for the role. So first off, when I say mid, what do I mean? Well, obviously there's top, mid, and bot for 3 lanes in Dota. Now this is the mid lane, and as such, there is usually just one hero from every team that goes mid, and it's a 1v1 lane. Now, occasionally you will have supports and stuff that will rotate to gank and all of those kinds of things, but for the most part, for the first 5 to 10 minutes, this is a lane that is strictly 1v1. So because of that, it's a very, very skill-based role. It's actually just you versus another guy. There's nobody to fall back on. There's no one to make excuses for. There's no one to be like, oh, my support, he's really bad, or, my carry, my offlane, whatever it is. It's just you versus the other guy, and it's a lot about matchups. There's a lot to think about. It's very intricate, but I think it is a great way to actually learn Dota, to learn how to lane, to learn how to CS, to learn all of the basics, the fundamentals. It's a great lane to do that. I started out playing mid, so that's why I think it's really good. Also, in addition to that, it's also called the 2 position, and that's because the 1 position I already went over. It's the carry position. You get the most farm priority. All of the farm goes to you if you want it, and then the mid lane is the second farm priority. Basically, if the carry doesn't want that farm, or they're not on that side of the map, the next person in line is you. So you pretty much get any farm that the carry doesn't want. Also, because of that, you are the person that makes the most space for the carry. Because you are laning 1v1 and you have an entire creep wave to yourself, you will get the most XP out of anyone else in the map. And so that really is the central crux of the mid lane, is you get the most experience. You hit 6 before any other hero in the game. And because of that, you become the strongest hero in the game. And so a lot of heroes that are played in the mid lane, they usually scale really, really well with levels, and then your job is to either take towers or to gank heroes or to do something that makes it easier for the rest of your team throughout the rest of the game. And so how you play mid, how well you do, and how you execute on the strategy that your specific hero or matchup or whatever, that all of those kinds of things, how you execute that really determines the entirety of the game, because it sets up that first 5 to 20 minutes. From 5 minutes to 20 minutes, it's pretty much all on you to determine what happens on the map and what happens in the game. And so that's the mid lane. That's how to think about it. That's how to, understand it conceptually. Now we're going to go into the heroes that play mid. So recently I made a video where I went over every hero in Dota and told you what roles those heroes play. Now, basically, I took all of the heroes that I think play mid or have played mid or traditionally played mid or all those kinds of things, and then I took that list and I divided all of those heroes up into 3 separate categories. Now, I will say this is kind of just my thing that I made up. It's not like a hard and fast rule. There's nothing here that says like, oh, these heroes have to be here. I would say that something like Lina or Leshrac or SF, they can be even like Queen of Pain. They could be in multiple roles, but I'm just doing this to kind of illustrate the differences between certain mid heroes and certain ways to play and ideas and concepts about the role and the lane so that we can, try to understand really how to play mid. So first, we're just going to jump into it here. This is the farming/carry mid heroes. Now, with the exception of Zeus here, every single one of these heroes scales with right clicks. This is pretty much the quintessential carry thing. Pretty much every carry in the game scales with right clicks. Now, you'll see Arc Warden has spell damage. Gyro spell damage. Lina, a lot of spell damage. Even Morphling has, some spell damage with the E-Blade build and all of that kind of stuff. But primarily, a lot of these carry mid heroes, a lot of these heroes scale with right clicks. And so that's the main thing that you want to think about with these heroes. But the other main thing is that they also want to farm. They don't really love getting involved early. Now, like I said, Lina, kind of an exception to that. Zeus, a little bit of an exception. Obviously, Meepo can be strong. Magnus has an ult. Lone Druid can push towers. But in general, they want to hit their item timings. They want to just farm. Alk is the quintessential one. He wants to just farm. He wants to get a lot of items because he scales really, really well with right clicks. He scales really, really well with farm. So yes, be aggressive. Push a tower. Gank somebody, those kinds of things when you can, but you're never unhappy with hitting a wave, hitting a jungle camp, all of that kind of stuff, because you know that if you're playing one of these heroes later in the game, you kind of have 2 carries. You have yourself and you have another hero with the carry role that can carry the game. So That's pretty much how you want to think about these heroes. I will say Lone Druid's probably one of the only ones. Even Meepo are the ones where they fall off at certain points. They really want to snowball, but you still want to be farming for, the first 10, 15 minutes. They might hit a timing later, like later into the game where they fall off, but you do want to farm because you need to get that 2 or 3 item timing so you can just absolutely dominate the game from then on. And lastly, I'll also talk about Zeus. The reason why I put Zeus here is basically because he's not very mobile. He doesn't make a ton of space or gank. He doesn't really dominate the lane or push towers, but basically what he wants to do is he wants to do a ton of damage, and the way that he does that is getting some items. He wants to get a little bit of survivability, a little bit of extra damage. He wants to get his ags, and once you can get those items, once you can push out waves, defend towers by spamming out your spells, you can just absolutely crush games, do a ton of damage with this hero. So he's the one exception, but still, he wants to farm. He wants to get his items up because once you get some items with this hero, he can be harder to kill than he has been in the past, and he can just output more damage than anybody else in the game. So that's farming carry mid heroes. You really can play these heroes thinking about being another carry. But the downside to these heroes is they don't get involved. They really rely on their team to push towers, to make some space for them. They don't create a lot of space. They don't really push the mid tower. They don't kill it very well early. I mean, there are some exceptions, but it's just not really how the heroes play generally. They love to farm a little bit more, and then they can get aggressive later. But if all of the lanes go bad and you're just kind of sustaining, you're just farming, it can be kind of hard to come back in this kind of game because you're not a hero that makes a lot of space, and then you're competing with farm. Or you're competing for farm with your carry. So that's how to play these heroes and how to understand them, but they can be one of these kinds of things where you're not really playing an authentic mid lane. Now, the next one I'll talk about is lane dominator / tower pushers. Now, these heroes are more, traditional mid heroes in the sense that they really dominate the lane or they really push the tower aggressively. So you'll see every hero here pretty much does one version of that or another. Either it's really scary to lane against them, like Broodmother, Huskar, Viper, those kinds of things, or they just push the tower, or they do a combination of both. But tower pushers, Dragon Knight, Death Prophet, Pugna, Visage, even Timbersaw pushes towers by just pure attrition. Shadow Fiend, lane dominator. Razor, kind of a lane dominator. Leshrac was one I said could be either or, that he can go in different categories. He does like to farm, he can gank, but he can also shred towers. So all of these heroes here have some version of either destroying the lane by just not letting you walk up, or by pushing the tower, because those two things are extremely important. So if you want to learn to dominate lanes and push towers and be aggressive early on, instead of just passively farming, you can try to pick one of these heroes. And then the last category here are space-making ganking mid-heroes. Now, all of these heroes, they might be able to dominate the lane. Some of them don't mind farming, but really what they want to do is they want to, sustain in the lane. They want to get some last hits, get some experience, and then they usually hit a 6 timing. Once they get level 6 at around 5 minutes or so, they just absolutely become a different hero. They just run around the map, killing people constantly. Obviously, Bat kind of really scales really well with his 6, but, once he gets some levels, he can just destroy people. Ember Spirit, once you hit 6, you're really good. Once you hit 6 with Kunkka, you're running around the map using Boat. Same thing with Puck. Same thing with Pango. Same thing with Storm. Tiny, not really ult-centric, but a lot of levels. Once you get that Avalanche Toss combo fully leveled up, you're just absolutely blowing up every support in the game, even a lot of squishy carries, off lanes, all of those kinds of things. You're just blowing people up. Void Spirit, again, once he gets 6, he's running around the map, killing people all the time. These are really space-making heroes. Now, Storm, Queen of Pain, Kunkka, even Invoker, they can farm. They don't mind farming, but really they want to make space for their team. So you don't want to just sit back. You don't want to just clear the wave. You don't want to just, do nothing. You want to kill people. You want to be aggressive. You want to potentially push lanes, all of that kind of stuff. So that's, I think, how to think about the mid lane. Basically, you need to understand what your hero does. And that's why I've divided it up this way, because I think some people, they just go play mid. They think, oh, I'm just going to get CS. I'm just going to get experience. I'm going to scale. I'm going to farm. I'm going to get my items. They basically play it like a carry. And they don't really understand that, yes, you can have heroes that want to play like a carry, but there are other heroes that if you're not taking advantage of their strengths, of what they want to do in the game, then you're just not taking advantage of why they are mid. Because obviously you want to be mid. The heroes that go mid, they can lane, they can be aggressive, they can survive, all of that kind of stuff. They do well with levels. But if you're not taking advantage of what they do after the 5-minute mark, after they hit 6, if you're not taking advantage of that, then you're going to lose more games than what you otherwise should, because you're just not making space. Because being the strongest hero on the map from like 5 to 15 to 20 minutes is really a big responsibility. You have to be utilizing your hero to the utmost, to as much as you can, pushing the limits on what you can do and really doing as much as possible on the map to help the rest of your team. Whether that means taking the towers, just dominating the lane, like putting yourself in a position where, your Timbersaw, they can't kill you, be aggressive. Or maybe your Storm, you can run around ganking people because you got a 12-minute Orchid and you're just destroying everybody because nobody has Manta, nobody has, BKB or anything like that yet. You can just absolutely destroy people. So that is how you need to think about these heroes. That's how you kind of need to conceptualize. And then, again, I'll go back to the farming ones with ones like Lone Druid or other things like that. You want to farm, but you want to try to make space if you can, and then you want to hit these timings that once you hit your later game timings, you want to be aggressive with them with something like Lone Druid and that kind of stuff. And then Magnus likes to farm, but once he gets a Blink Dagger, you want to look to make space because you are very strong on the map. You can RP people, get really good team fight kills, and all of that kind of stuff. So that's all of the heroes. Those are all of the heroes that play mid and kind of their general idea of how to play them. And obviously, once you pick a hero that you want to play, I suggest obviously picking 1, 2, or 3 heroes. You can maybe mix it up depending, maybe you want to play like a bunch of space making mids. Maybe you want to play a bunch of aggressive ones. I would say pick a couple heroes. Learn to play one of these roles. Learn to be a ganking hero. Learn to be an aggressive hero. Learn to farm. I would generally not pick a farming one. This is almost for carry players that, just want to play mid. I would pick one of these two and just learn the hero in and out. Learn their matchups, because that's another thing. Mid is all about matchups. So Ember might be really good against some matchups. He might dominate some lanes. But other lanes, he's going to absolutely get crapped on. He's going to be terrible because he's melee and he has to walk up, and it's very hard to play him into some lanes. So you just have to learn what to do in all of those scenarios, and that's key to mid. That's very key to playing mid. So I would, like I said, suggest picking a couple heroes from one of these two places. Maybe just pick like DK, maybe pick Ember or Storm or something like that, and then just learn those in and out, learn all of their matchups, and then you can kind of go from there and learn how to play mid in general. But learning matchups and learning what your hero does and the strengths are very important. So those are all the heroes. Those are how to think about them. That's kind of the different ways to play mid. And now we're going to jump into some replays. I'm going to go over all of the basics of how to lane, how to transition, what to think about, all of those kinds of things throughout the entire game from the mid lane. Okay, now, so I'm jumping into a custom lobby where it's just me. I'm playing Storm, and I'm going mid, and I'm just going to kind of show you what happens generally in the lane. So, first, the lane meets right here, naturally, but you can actually block the creeps. So, pretty much what you want to do is, as the creeps come, you just kind of want to stand in front of them and block them a little bit. You can do this in the side lanes as well. But basically what you want, and I'll do this with the next wave here to kind of show you this a little bit, is you kind of want to go get the rune like usual, but then you can go here and you can kind of just stand in front of the lanes and keep pressing stop or the S key, and you'll just like sit in front of the creeps, and they will, not walk exactly as fast as usual because they, you're kind of blocking them, and then you want your creeps to be right here, and this is the perfect position, because when your creeps are right here, right out of tower range, it's very hard for the enemy to come and harass you, because obviously you have the high ground advantage, which is a super important thing in mid. It's very important to understand that, because if you're both ranged and you're clicking down to the low ground and they're clicking up to the high ground, you're going to win that trade pretty much every time. The other thing is they have to, if they try to get aggressive on you, you can just retreat to the tower. If they try to use all their spells on you, and you're safe. Whereas if you want to go on them, let's say I skilled. Obviously, this is the way you skill with Storm, but let's say level 3, I have Electric Vortex. They walk up to the lane. I can pull them in. I can chase them all the way back to here before I have to retreat because I'm going to get hit by the tower. So those laning things are very important. It's important to block. It's important to maintain lane equilibrium. And that's the thing about this lane, is that obviously in the side lanes, when you're in the safe lane and the creeps are meeting here, that's bad for you, but you can pull. You can do things to adjust the lane. Mid, however, it's a little bit different. You can't pull any side camp. There's no pull that happens in this lane. So really, it's all on you to do creep aggro, to maintain creep equilibrium at the spot that you want it, based on how aggressive you want to be or how defensive you want to be, based on the matchup, based on the levels, all of that kind of stuff. This is why it's one of the most complicated lanes, because there's so many different dynamics based on what's happening that obviously you want to try to keep the creeps here for most of the time. But that's not always the case. Sometimes if you're in a losing matchup, let's say you're a melee hero against a Huskar or something, even if the creeps are here, the Huskar can just walk up to the high ground, and you still don't like to be there. So in that case, you pretty much want to, as those heroes, sit in XP range. You want to creep aggro as much as possible to aggro the creeps back into your tower to try to push the wave. You also want to use your spells to spam out the wave as much as possible, like a Storm here. Use your Q to, secure last hits and make sure you're taking as little harass as possible, all of that kind of stuff. And this is obviously a little bit better to do once you have more levels. So once you have a lot of levels and you can spam out the wave, that's obviously easier, but that's pretty much how you want to think about the mid wave in terms of equilibrium and all of that kind of stuff. It's very, very important based on matchups. Now, I can't give you shortcuts and all that kind of stuff. Really, I can say it's just better for you to have the wave here, but other than that, it's really, really matchup dependent and level dependent and all that kind of stuff. Now, the next thing that I'm going to talk about is bottle. So this is a unique patch where bottle is just so important in mid, and it's honestly important for pretty much any hero that buys a bottle. Usually, like Storm, like any spirit hero, like Lena, anything like that, any hero that uses a lot of mana wants to buy bottle, and bottle's super important. Getting your bottle timing at the right time is very, very important. Now, with certain patches, when they didn't have water runes, you might be able to delay your bottle a little bit because, the runes wouldn't spawn for a few minutes. Whereas now in this patch, because there's 2-minute water runes, getting your bottle before that 2 minutes is probably the most important thing in the lane, because you can use a lot of resources, you can use a lot of mana in the lane before that 2 minutes. Get your bottle, use 3 charges, and then bottle the rune. Then there's also, now currently in this patch, there's a bounty rune at 3 minutes. You can go get that, all that kind of stuff. So it makes sustaining in lane so much easier when you get a bottle. So obviously that's going to change over time. What runes spawn when it's going to change. They're going to adjust things, they're going to balance stuff, it's going to change. But really, that's one of the keys, is knowing how much regen to fly yourself, whether you're flying yourself a salve, whether you're starting with a salve, or when to get your bottle to maintain rune control, because rune control is one of the most important parts of mid. Whenever the runes spawn, no matter what patch it is, you want to look to control the runes, whether that's getting your 1 of 2 water runes, whether that's getting 2 water runes, or whether that's getting one of the power runes once they do spawn. It's so, so important to get runes. Even if you don't buy bottle, you want to look to get runes, because runes can help you gank, they can help you sustain, they can help you do a ton of things, and you're denying those things to the enemy. So maybe you don't really like, you don't love a regen rune. You're a DK and you have, you're going to get your mana, but you're full health anyway, but still, maybe you're playing against the Storm. Well, you don't want that Storm to get that regen, to bottle that regen. So it's really, really important for you to control the runes so you can take the regen for yourself, just to deny it from the Storm and those kinds of things. So that's pretty much how to think about the mid lane in terms of rune control, all of that kind of stuff. Now, I've talked about runes, I've talked about lane equilibrium, all of those kinds of things. Now we see I've just been standing passively, not really getting last hits, but it was about 5 minutes and 30 seconds when I hit 6. Nobody denied anything or anything like that. So this should be how it is. Basically, once the catapult wave spawns at around 5 minutes, you should be about 6, and that's because you should be able to get a lot of experience from here. You can also clear the small camp or whatever camp is near to you in that patch. That's usually something that mid does as well, and then you should get 6 around this time. And so this is a key time, because you'll have bottle, you'll have a few other items. Now what you want to do from here, it's all about your hero. Once you hit this 6 timing, maybe you're going to push the tower because you're a DK. Maybe you're looking to the side lanes constantly to see, if you can rotate, if they're diving tower and you need to TP in, all that kind of stuff. Maybe you push the wave out. So with Storm, something I like to do is basically once I hit 6, I don't really want to be here anymore. I just like to push this wave out, get the last hits that I can, secure all the last hits. Obviously, I'm doing a bad job when I'm talking there, but basically just push the wave out as fast as possible. And then once I do that, just leave the wave. Just go either to jungle, to farm, or run to a side lane to gank. That's basically what I want to be doing with Storm once I hit 6. Or, potentially, if the enemy is low and the enemy's being aggressive and I see them on a ward or something and I see they have low HP, I can dive them, I can pull them, I can, gank with my support if they come mid, those kinds of things, but I generally don't want to be sitting around the mid wave. So pretty much if you're a hero, a lot of mid heroes have some kind of nuke. Once you hit 6, once you hit a few levels and you can, spend your mana to nuke down the wave, you generally want to nuke the wave so you can either gank, you can either push the tower once the wave is cleared, or you can go jungle, one of those kinds of things. That's really what you want to be doing after the 4, 5, 6 minute mark. So that's really, really important. So that's mid in general. Those are all the basic parts of mid. Lane equilibrium, making sure to be aggressive when you can, and then getting your bottle at the right time, having rune control, and then once you hit 6, once it's around 5 minutes, using that catapult wave or pushing the wave out and looking to gank or take the tower by using that catapult wave, those kinds of things. Whatever it is that your hero does, however your hero is strong, that level 6, that 5-minute timing is super, super important because that'll determine what happens for the rest of the game. So that's how to think about the laning stage. Those are the general concepts of the lane. And now I'm going to jump into a game and show you kind of more specific things about, being aggressive level 1 and all of that kind of stuff and how to think about that. And then we'll talk about, how to transition into the later portion of the game from the mid-roll. Now we're jumping into a replay here of me playing Storm. I just wanted to show you one of my replays because obviously I know exactly what I was thinking and all of that kind of stuff in this game. Usually you want to go for the rune if you're a strong hero. I think usually, mid heroes are generally pretty strong, level 1. They usually have some kind of aggressive spell, whether it's a stun or some kind of, right-click thing. Obviously we messed up there. The techies went in, we got double stunned, all that kind of stuff. It wasn't very good. But eventually you want to go back and you want to block. So you see, even though we didn't have a great rune, I knew the Lina wasn't able to block, so I was able to block. I was able to get the wave on my hill, which was just perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to do. Now, I'll speed up here because I kind of just told you the general things about how to play the lane, but look at this. I'll just actually rewind here. I didn't speed up because I forgot that I wanted to show you about this range creep. Basically, the first wave is so important. The first wave is extremely important because basically if you get all of the CS, or essentially the enemy doesn't deny a single creep in the first wave, you will hit level 2 after the first wave. And that's extremely important because if you hit level 2, because you get every CS or, they don't deny anything, and you deny one of theirs, then they won't be level 2, you'll be level 2 first, and that level 2 spike is usually very, very important for mid. So you see what I do. The Lina tries to secure the range creep for herself. I secure the range creep for myself as well, because we're kind of both on the same page. She knows she really wants to get that range creep. She doesn't want it to be denied. I want to walk up there and make sure that the range creep isn't denied as well. So we're sort of doing the same thing. We're mirroring each other in terms of how we're playing aggressively because we're trying to secure those creeps for the lane. Now Lina tries to, obviously in a pretty good way, put the creep back there, but you see, she hasn't cleared that whole first wave. So she's level 1, I'm level 2. So look how aggressive I'm being because of that. I'm being fairly aggressive, like looking to say, no, you can't walk up here because if you do, I'm level 2. I have more, damage. I have more everything than you. I have, 2 abilities. I have a lot of nuke potential. I have my Q, which does damage. So you're just not going to get this, you're not going to be able to approach the wave. And you see, because of that, I'm able to play pretty aggressive there. She goes for the last hit on the range creep, and I'm able to get that. So this is basically just how you want to play mid. Now, obviously, I'm not a pro mid player. It'd be better to watch pro mid players play to see how aggressive they are and, all of the correct things. I'm sure there's mistakes I could be making. I'm not playing perfectly. I'm not saying any of that. But generally, this is how you want to play. You want to know that the first wave is super, super important. And you see here how I know she wants to stun me to stop me from getting that range creep. But basically, I use that overload charge in order to get the range creep because I know it's so important. The next thing that I do is I walk up. I think I was trying to use my Q and I just failed. But basically I got my bottle before 2 minutes because I know it's super important to get my bottle before that happens because I want to be able to secure one of the water runes so that I can, get these full charges and everything. You see how I'm kind of just spamming the wave out because obviously Lina is a super hard hero to be aggressive on. Her range is super scary. She's also has a good stun and all that kind of thing. But you see how I even just waste that so I can make sure to secure the range creep there so I can make sure I at least get one water rune. And basically now that we're level 3, I'm almost level 4, she's level 4, she just hit it because of the wave. Now that we're at this point in the game, just based on the matchup, I'm just kind of playing for myself now. I don't really care about being super aggressive on her because it's a Lina. She outranges me. She eventually out-nukes me. Even if I get in range for a pull and a remnant, I'm not going to be, super survivable. I don't want to waste everything on that. So as we speed it up here, I'm just pretty much playing for myself. And you see I use my abilities to try to secure CS as much as possible, but I push out the wave. I don't really want to lane around her. I don't want to deal with her. So I just kind of go to the jungle and try to use my spells efficiently, but I pretty much do as much as I can to get extra CS. You see I'm leading CS right now, 22 CS versus 11 for the Lina, so I'm generally playing pretty aggressive. You see there how I walked up to the high ground, cleared the wave. I don't want to deal with Lina. I don't want to be around her. I don't want to interact with her very much. She has better range. She has a bunch of nukes. She has a stun. I just don't feel like being near her. So I pretty much just come to the lane whenever there's something to push out, but generally I don't want to. But now she's being aggressive, so I get aggressive on her, these kinds of things. But it's kind of like as it goes. Like, you just have to kind of know what your hero does, know when to be aggressive, and know what you want to be doing in the matchup. So because she got into melee range, because she was chasing me, I knew that after she used her nukes and stuff, and I did have that water rune, I could be aggressive on her. But generally, as you see, I'm just kind of playing for myself as much as possible. I don't want her to... The key is here. Even though I'm playing for myself, I don't want her to be able to push the tower. So I want to get these creeps over here. I want to secure creeps, you know, get as many lasses as possible. I'm going for my Orchid first. I generally like to do this in lower MRs. Either I go Orchid before even finishing any kind of boots, or I just go straight up Boots of Travel, and I think you should go Boots of Travel in a lot of mids, because the one thing about Boots of Travel is it just allows you to be around the map and make way more space. But you see how, like, I'm being so aggressive here. I'm just pushing out the wave. I do not care. I don't want to spend time here. I want to go get the rune, all that kind of stuff. And now here. So I got an Invis rune. It's 6 minutes. I didn't get super aggressive, but you see that I did get aggressive with the catapult wave. So even though it's a little bit later than normal, it's not like I immediately rotated around 6. Or around 5 minutes. I hit 6. I'm level 7 even, and I haven't rotated since, but I pushed out the lane. I knew Lina wasn't here, or at least Lina has to go back and deal with mid, because this is the whole thing. So the reason why I pushed this is because Lina has to deal with this catapult. This catapult is going to do a lot of damage. It already has done almost 400 damage to her mid tower. This is the most important tower in the game. So what I'm thinking is, you know, I've pushed this out. Lina has to deal with this. If she doesn't deal with that, it's going to be bad for her. And now I see mid is a very good place to gank. Basically, they're pretty low level. I'm level 7. They're both level 4. I got an Invis rune. I can surprise them. And now this is all about just, like, knowing my limits with Storm. I don't want to jump this far away. I know I don't need to. I don't want to waste any... I don't want to waste any mana that I don't necessarily have to. So yeah, this is pretty much securing 2 kills right there. Ganking for my... safe lane. Now, I will say this, and I immediately went back. So you see how basically I did miss 3 CS there, but I got a double kill, and I protected my tower. So through all of that, if we pause it here, my tower lost not even 100 HP. Her tower lost almost 500 HP, and this is kind of the key to ganking. So this is a ganking hero thing. This is kind of a, I guess you would say, a tutorial on how to play one of these more ganking heroes. If you're an aggressive hero around that time when the catapult was there, Lina's not coming, I'm just pushing the tower, right? If I'm a farming hero, I'm just going back and hitting the jungle. If I'm a TA, I'm maybe pushing this a little bit, but then I'm going back and clearing, stacking ancients, clearing that kind of stuff. If I'm a storm, if I'm an ember, I'm doing what I just did. And that's just how to think about the mid lane. And you see, because I was able to do that, I was able to get 2 kills and have almost no damage on my tower, where she had 500 damage on her tower. Now, obviously, at this point, I'm, you know, a fourth of my mana. I don't really want to go gank anymore because I have low resources. I just want to protect my tower, just farm when I can, these kinds of things, and not get too aggressive. And I'm getting closer and closer to my Orchid. So now we kind of see that I'm transitioning here, just farming a bunch. I see the Lina warded, I go get my rune, all of this kind of stuff. Just generally protecting my tower whenever I can. And I think for now, speed it up a lot because I pretty much just try to defend my tower as much as possible. I don't see the best time to gank. I also am getting closer to my... I'm getting closer and closer to my Orchid, so I pretty much just want to sit here as much as possible. I see the Lina going up to try to get a... to get my ward, and then we just get aggressive on him with the techie. So it's just a way to know, you know, when to be aggressive with your hero. And you see that pretty much now I'm really, really close to my Orchid. I have low resources, and this is just what I'm doing. I'm just sitting around the mid tower, getting as much farm as I can, making sure that I go back as much as possible. I tried to stack, and then I wanted to go back because I just didn't want the Lina to pressure mid. So you see, instead of wasting my time here farming this stack that I made, I said, oh, you know, I stacked it but the tower's pushing into my, or the wave's pushing into my tower, so I don't want to waste time. I don't want to just like, you know, spend all my mana and all my resources and take damage. I need to go push this in. And so you see how this works out for me is now I push this in, the Lina has to come back. So if the Lina ever wanted to gank, she just couldn't. And now it offered me time to basically go back to mid. My Luna, thankfully, now has to transition there. So because of that, you know, the tower was defended, all of that kind of stuff. We took top tower, thankfully, so I'm looking to be aggressive. I get my Orchid, so here, I'll just rewind a little bit. So I finished my Orchid. I immediately finished my Orchid, and what am I thinking? Well, any hero on that is putting themselves in a weird position on the map, I am ganking them instantly. This is what Storm can do. So it's pre-12-minute Orchid. I just TP'd out to mid, and I'm seeing, okay, this Jug is here. He's probably alone. There's no way he's surviving this. I didn't even need the techies here. Obviously, that was good. But I didn't even need that because I'm looking to gank. I'm looking to be aggressive. The main two things that I'm thinking is I want to be aggressive. I want to gank. As long as my mid tower is not being pressured, they are not taking mid, I do not care about going back to mid. If someone else is clearing it, that's fantastic. I love that. I just don't want my mid tower to go down, and I'm looking to be aggressive and kill anybody that I can. You see, I have low resources here, so I'm not going to be aggressive on the Lina. The Lina is the other strongest hero in the game, so I want to, you know, be careful there. I don't want to be super aggressive. Now, bottom is, I'm watching bottom right now. I mean, I'm seeing it on the minimap. Even though you don't see my camera, I'm looking at it on the minimap and I say, okay, I don't have the best resources, but I don't want to TP in to like 3 heroes, get silenced by Skywrath. And so I'm just kind of sitting back, just doing my thing. I also want to push the mid wave out. So this is a mistake. I probably should have ganked. It probably would have been better. But I know they're all being aggressive bottom. They want to take bottom. So instead of doing that, I'm just going to push the mid lane. Because what I want to do is I'm basically going to trade this lane for this lane. Because this mid tower is the most important tower in the game. It's literally the most important tower. So trading this mid tower on tier 1 for safe lane is good every single time. Now that I take this, though, now that Lina didn't come back and didn't do that, and I push the wave in, and I know there's nothing she can do, this is when I look to gank. Now, obviously, there's no tower to TP to anymore, but I immediately head bottom. I pop my regen so I can get there a little bit quicker, and now we can just look at what I do. I'm watching the fight. I'm watching the fight. I know my DK is dying, but I don't care. My regen is still going, thankfully. They didn't click me. The DK does die, but look how I'm just being aggressive. They're all there. I just got a double kill by ganking. They were all there, but I just like know the limits of my hero. I know what I want to do with my hero, and so I know the limits, and I know how to play aggressive, and I'm making space. Notice how this entire time, being the strongest person on the map, I'm being aggressive when I can. Even though I didn't gank there, my ogre was kind of yelling at me to gank, I pushed the mid tower. I went and killed the Jug up here. Look at what my Luna is doing. Yes, I'm position 2, and I'm like kind of carrying it away, but really what I'm doing is I'm making a ton of space for this Luna. This Luna didn't have a great lane. It wasn't the best. She died at one point when I got right before I got that double kill. But like this Luna is just having the time of her life. This lane's pushed in. She doesn't have to worry about it. She can just farm this jungle. She can push out mid, and I'm creating all of the space. So I think this is a really, really good example of just how to play the early game with your mid hero. How to play mid in general. This is pretty much what you want to do. Now, every hero is different. Like I said, sometimes you're going to pressure mid. Sometimes you're going to group up with your team and pressure top if they didn't take it. That's one thing that didn't happen in this game. My off lane with a DK, pressure top, they took the tower. And I did gank bottom a little bit more. But if the top lane wasn't winning, if the top lane wasn't pressuring the tower, I would look to rotate top a lot more to try to get this tower. But then once this tower's taken, I don't necessarily need to be up here unless the rest of my team is up here, or I can go up here and solo kill somebody when I find them. But the techies, I mean, it's a techies game, so it's a little bit weird, but he's occupying that space, and basically what I want to do, I'm getting my farm, I'm pressuring the map, I'm looking to gank, but I'm being aggressive as I can without feeding, and that's pretty much how you want to think about mid. So that's pretty much how to play mid. Those are the basic concepts, the basic heroes, the basic understanding of laning, how to, think about creep equilibrium and bottling runes and all of that kind of stuff, how to farm, what to think to do to transition. Now, from this point, from 15, 20 minutes, there's going to be a time where you know, other heroes, you know, people are getting BKBs, people are getting items, people are getting Yules, all this different kind of stuff. My Orchid's falling off. From here, I'm just looking to push lanes, be aggressive when I can, but I've made a lot of space already. I'm kind of going to transition to getting my BKB, to getting more survivable, to looking to constantly be a threat on the map. But as it hits the 15-20 minute mark, I'm going to just look to farm a little bit more, put pressure on the map a little bit more than I am to just like be aggressive on heroes, because we already took the two most important towers. Now it's more about securing the later portion of the game, securing map control and all of those kinds of things, and I'm a big part of that. Yes, I want to turn around ganks. Yes, I want to gank people when I can, but as people start getting more levels and getting more items, it's going to be a little bit harder as we go through the game. So that's kind of mid. That's how to understand mid. I hope this all made sense. I hope this was straightforward for you. Obviously, this is Storm specific in some ways in this game, but I think in general, this is how you can think about mid. This is how you can play mid from the very beginning of the game to later in the game. It just depends on the matchups. It depends on your hero and the strengths, but generally this is kind of what you want to do. So that's how to play mid. Those are all the general concepts. I hope this guide was helpful for you guys if you're looking to play mid or looking to be a mid player, looking to get into the role, or just starting out Dota, anything like that. But yeah, that's mid. I hope that was helpful. As always, guys, like, comment, subscribe, all of those kinds of things. The links are below for Discord, for Patreon to support me, for my Twitch when I do my replay reviews there, all of those kinds of things. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.